Hello, Empowered Woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. And today we're kicking off a special series I decided to do as I am going for a big push for my book in my very first Empowered Woman book club. It's called the Empowered Woman Book and Path series. And I'm interviewing several women who have read and left a review on my book on Amazon about the 5 steps on the Empowered Woman path, as well as their personal empowered path to success in life and business. I am so excited. My very first guest is Emma KOBIL. She's a licensed professional counselor practicing online with clients in Colorado and Florida. Her philosophically informed therapeutic approach focuses on helping creative, imperfectionist women practice self-compassion. We had an amazing conversation. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to start believing in yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed, and let your voice be heard to make an impact in the world as an entrepreneur, this is the place for you. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Emma. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Marta. Thank you so much for having me.
Yay, I'm so excited. So I will apologize in advance for my voice as I'm recording this, but hopefully I won't be doing as much of the talking because I do want Emma to share her thoughts and talk more about herself and her business here. But this is part of the Empowered Woman book series, where I am interviewing several women who have read my book and are coming on to share their thoughts when it comes to the 5 steps in applying this to their life story and to their journey in their business as well. So we'll walk through the steps and then obviously hear from these women what their empowered woman path has looked like in life and business. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm excited.
So let's start off. Just tell us who you are and what you do, and then we'll get started.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So I am Emma KOBIL. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I work with clients in Colorado and also in Florida, and I work with clients online. And I primarily work with women who suffer from like anxiety, self-worth issues, perfectionism, people pleasing, essentially like not feeling worthy is often at the root of some of these issues, but it can kind of manifest in a lot of different ways with a lot of different, protective behaviors that we have. Sometimes it looks like overworking. Sometimes it looks like zoning or numbing out. And I offer like mindfulness talk therapy, and I do some parts work with people, which we might get into a little bit, and also EMDR for trauma.
Oh, nice. I love all of that. All right. So let's get into more on how you work with clients by diving into the first step of the Empowered Woman path, which is notice yourself. I would love to hear your take on what I shared in the book in terms of what that means, and then how you work with clients in that sense, and even personally too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I love what you talk about as far as noticing yourself and knowing kind of your own predispositions toward where you might struggle or where you might have blocks as coming from often places that are really deep, maybe childhood. And this is something I work with people a lot on. I believe that we often try and solve a problem by just sort of plowing through and, overdoing, performing or achieving or scheduling a ton of plans. And we don't often really take time to get in touch with and be mindful of what's happening in our bodies. So noticing, as well as some of this deeper stuff, but even just noticing in the moment what's happening, like what are the sensations we're having? How are we feeling towards those sensations that maybe are coming up for us? So we often, and I think as women, we're extra programmed in this way not to really tune into ourselves. Right. We're taught to kind of be attuned to everyone else's needs. But this is what I believe creates burnout, creates resentment, when we're not actually in tune with our own bodies and what we actually need. Mm-hmm. So I think that is a huge step of kind of noticing ourselves, noticing and sort of allowing what's there to be there without judging it.
Yeah.
And I also, I know you talk about this in the book a ton, but noticing like kind of like where triggers are rooted from. And that's a lot of the work I do with people, is noticing when maybe a part of ourselves that is protective, like when it started to do that job and why it started to do that job. So right. For instance, if there's a part of us that's really critical of ourselves or really hard on ourselves or mean to ourselves, like, where did that start? Was there a time in life where that was really adaptive for us to do, where we preemptively, taking care of our, like thinking about what we were doing wrong or whatever, so that someone else wouldn't be pointing it out to us or being mean to us or rejecting us in some way, for instance.
Yes. That it was helpful then, but it's not helpful anymore.
Yeah.
Survival, exactly. Right? We get to choose to let go of that once we realize that it's not serving us anymore. I love that. Well, I could comment on so many things, but we do have other steps. And I think listening to yourself is really like more in depth of what noticing is. So I'll jump to that one and let you share your thoughts. And then I'll comment on some of the things that you did say in noticing that I thought was so fascinating when it comes to women tuning out more than tuning in. So tell us more about the listening to yourself.
Yeah. So listening to yourself. So I think that this is another one that, I operate with counseling from a feminist perspective. And I believe that women have a very specific set of struggles. Like we are talking about, we are taught to not pay attention to our own needs. We are taught to think about others primarily all the time. We're taught we need to be perfect, wives or partners or parents or workers. We also have to be banging hot, in conventional societal standards on top of all of those things. So I think that kind of noticing is a really natural next step. Or listening is a natural next step after noticing. Yeah. Like if we begin to, almost like with our kids, like if we begin to make space for, okay, what's actually happening in my body? Like, wow, my heart is beating 1,000,000 miles a minute. My hands are sweaty. I am like, I can't really catch my breath right now. We tend to start, and we accept those things and don't try and change them. We tend to start to have some compassion for ourselves, I think. And then I think it's possible to start to like hear our inner voice. Like, okay, what's going on underneath that? What is this telling me? What's the sensation telling me that I need? So I believe like our intuitions as women are brilliant and strong, and we need to listen to them, because literally every time I've listened to my own intuition, it has been right, like about the big things, Yeah. So, and the times I deny it are the times I end up being kind of upset with myself, or, feeling like, oh man, I knew what was going on. I knew what I needed. I knew what the situation needed. So I think that's a really important one.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what I was going to talk about when you said noticing, and it goes beautifully with listening, is that we naturally have this intuition, but it's almost like we are taught to not listen to it because we're attuned more to people. And we don't understand, especially as moms, how detrimental that is in terms of modeling behavior, right? To teach your children to understand themselves and to self-regulate when we don't even know how to do that ourselves, right? How can you expect them to stop their temper tantrums immediately when you don't even know how to stop your own as an adult, right? So that is huge. Awesome. So let's get to my favorite one. I have a hard time picking between forgiving and empowering, because obviously I'm all about the empowerment, but I got to say this is a huge one. And it is necessary before the empowerment. So that's why the order is there. Let's talk about forgiving ourselves.
Yeah. So I think, forgiving ourselves is another one of these that really goes with the like opening to have some compassion for ourselves. So I think that this is really important in the work that I do, because like I was sort of saying before, a lot of the times when we start to notice why a part of ourselves has acted in a way that maybe we're not happy with now, or, is maybe causing us pain or distress now, like there's a reason why it's acting that way. Like it was adaptive at some point. So I think being able to tune into that part and say, I see you. I see why you've been doing this. And thank you, even thanking it for the service or the ways it's tried to help us or protect us in the past, can just be a really freeing feeling. Like these parts, we're not trying to get rid of them. We're trying to accept them.
Right.
Maybe they want to rest. Maybe they're tired and they need to step back, or they can let go of something they've been carrying that's not really theirs to carry. But I think, really letting those parts of ourselves know that they're welcome, that we see them, and like that they're okay. Just like we would for children who are having a tantrum or something like that.
Yeah, it's the same concept. I feel like being a mom has helped me, and that's the reason why I've gone on this journey anyways. There's so many freaking parallels and so many mirroring of both ways. It's just amazing. Let's talk about empowerment. I would love for you to compare what I talk about in terms of what it means for you to empower yourself and recognizing your achievements and the good things about yourself after the forgiveness piece, and the work that you do in empowering women with your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this is another area where I think that we often downplay ourselves, or we aren't as, again, we don't really listen to our intuition about what we want, what we need. And we also often don't recognize, some of our brilliant strengths, like how amazing of a strength it is to be able to hold space for another person, or to be able to be nurturing for another person, which are strengths I know a lot of my clients have, or they are very sensitive to the beauty of the world and compassionate, and can feel the feelings of others really, really deeply a lot of the time. But I think that we tend to not see those things as really valuable, and a lot of other traits we have as women as really valuable. So I think, recognizing that, like even sometimes, having the intention and writing out, like, what are these things that are really, beautiful and connect me to others, that are inside of me. And then allowing ourselves to like really embody it, really let those, like really feel the power of those things. I think we can go places in the world that we never dreamed we could have gone when we do those things.
That's so true. I love it. And finally, let's talk about transformation. And then I would love for you to share even some client stories where you were able to witness the transformation and what that looked like, because I think transformation it can look different for different people in terms of what they're pursuing. And in my perspective, a lot of the transformation comes from self-acceptance, from really just being more of who you are instead of trying to be someone different. So I'd love to hear your take on that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, without, sharing details of client stories, I'll just say that I've worked with a lot of people who have, come in to therapy with this mentality of just not really feeling good enough. Like I said before, I sort of think that is the root of all of this, feeling different from the group, feeling separate from others, feeling, like we're going to be judged and alone and we're different. And, the small feeling is really, I think, at the root of all our suffering. And I have worked with a lot of people who over the time I've been in practice, and they've gotten to a place of really feeling like, I can quit my job that is tearing me down. I can leave this relationship that is abusive. I can, decide to pursue this dream. And I've had people say to me, like, this is like magic. Like, this is like a way of being in the world that's totally different. And I agree, because I feel like I've gone on that journey as well. And I think it's a continual journey. I don't think we really ever just arrive and the work is done.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do believe that when we start to listen to ourselves, there's new worlds of possibility that emerge. I'm for example, and again, my work is still continuing, of course, too, but right now I'm living in Mexico as I continue to do work with clients. And it's something learning Spanish, and I never thought like I would get to do something like that. But so I just think there are all kinds of possibilities out there.
Yeah, it's an ongoing transformation process.
Yeah.
It never ends for as long as we're alive. I love that so much. Well, let us know more about how exactly it is that you work with clients. Obviously, remotely, since you are in Mexico, super jealous as it's started snowing here in Colorado. Yesterday we had
I lived in Colorado before I got here. So
so you know how it is. But now you're not going to get the snow leaving.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know where you are, but at least not the same degree. Okay, good.
I'm in Puerto Vallarta, so it's tropical. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, tell us more how people can connect with you. What are the different ways that you work with people? Is it a one-on-one? Is it, do you have groups? Do you have self-paced programs? Share all the things.
Yeah, so I work with clients individually, one-on-one, and I do, like I said, do talk therapy with people where we can work through some of this, like the parts work and forgiving different parts of ourselves that we've been talking about today. And I also do EMDR therapy, which is a really evidence-based, cool treatment for the treatment of trauma. It's very somatic. It's very involves really allowing your body to process through trauma, not just cognitively to process trauma. And so, people can connect with me at my website, which is mindfulcounselingdenver.com. Or you can email me at emma@mindfulcounselingdenver.com.
Amazing. And I'll make sure and add all of those links and the information of the email in the show notes as well for people to connect with you. Let me know then, what is an empowered woman? How would you describe an empowered woman?
I love it. I think that honestly, when you said that, I'm just going to go with what my intuition said, is that I believe we're all really I believe we are all empowered, and that we all have like a ton of power within us. And it's just like, it just takes some sitting still and being quiet and being willing to go to some scary places for that to come out. But I believe we are all empowered.
Yeah, we really are. It's just finding that space within us by listening to ourselves and all the things that we've already shared here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, for sharing with us. I am so grateful to have connected with you. And I was going to say we should meet in person, but it's going to have to wait a little bit because you're still not around. But that's amazing. I hope you're enjoying yourself out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marta. This was wonderful. Thank you for all the work you do as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. Connect with Emma. All the links are in the show notes. And join us for my very first Empowered Woman Book Club. It's 100% free. And guess what? It's 100% off social media. I am so excited to build community outside of social, and I'd love for you to come check it out. Stay tuned for the next episodes on this amazing series, and go to martasbook.com/book club now to join the book club. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, bye.